Drop, you can't ignore it. I'm transforming now these cars and planes. I'm always boarding. Just out touring down in Charlotte like I play for Hornets.
What up? What up? What up? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing? This is your sports guy Kendrick with TFG Sports Media, and this is the TFG Sports Show, the best 30-minute sports show on social media. I hope you're having a terrific Tuesday. Well, we're going to rename today. It's Turkey Tuesday, because guess what? It's 2 days before Thanksgiving, and I know everybody is excited about getting their eat on, but don't do too much. Don't do too much eating. Then you're going to have to do a whole lot more cardio and exercise to work that stuff off, but enjoy your stuff. Enjoy everything. So I'm glad you joined me. Before we get into this thing, those is watching, come on in, say hello, give me a shout out. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe to TFG Sports Media. Make sure you share this to all your social media platforms. Okay, we're going to have a good time tonight. Just going to be 30 minutes. We're going to chop it up real quick, talk some sports. How about that? That's what we do here. All right, well, let's go ahead and jump into this topic. So we're going to start off like we normally do with our NFL recap week 11. Before we recap some games, we had some breaking news today. Some news. Somebody is going to be out of a job come Thanksgiving. What's going on, Antoine Banks? My little bro, what's happening? Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Brenton Hanks.
What's going on, man?
Good evening. Good evening, Brother Lamar. Good evening, Mimi Scott. Hey, everybody on, y'all keep on. Y'all come on in. Isaiah Harris. Good evening. Good evening. Hey, my man family, my Kennard with Vernon Speak Sports then jumped in here. How you doing, brother? How's your Tuesday going?
Oh, man, everything is great, man. Glad to be back on the show. There's been a lot of moving parts in the sports world. So, look forward to, tackling and getting into this.
Yeah, we're going to jump into this Out of Bounds Sports Podcast. Good evening, brothers. Thank you for joining us and tuning in. Well, we're going to recap week 11, but before we get to that, and we're going to breeze through that, we got to talk about the New York Giants. They finally decided enough is enough. They fired offensive coordinator Jason Garrett after almost 2 years with the organization. They lost last night to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 30-10. The offensive performance was lackluster. They didn't do much. Head coach Joe Judge said in his post-game news conference that there was going to be some changes. He was very unhappy with the offensive production of the offense. And Tuesday, he said, adios, Jason. Thanks, and happy Thanksgiving. What you think about that firing of Jason Garrett, Kennard?
Whenever you fire a coordinator, this is not a knee-jerk reaction. This is something that has been, going on for some time. He's probably, the head coach has probably looked at, how the offensive coordinator prepares his team for games. And, this is just a tip on the iceberg as to where, based on what we're seeing from this coach and, how he prepares his players and how he prepares his players for big games, and to have a situation where you have the utmost lackluster offensive performance, that's how you get fired. It's not one game. It's a series of events that have led up to this. This is something that has probably been on the table for the last, few weeks, because I guarantee you, and I won't be long-winded here, but I guarantee you there has been some talks. There has been some, performance plan type deals, the way, hey, you need to tighten up. You need to do this. And the changes weren't made. So that's how you get fired. Yeah, I mean, bottom line, that's just, that's just kind of halfway common sense.
Yeah, and Joe Judge, I remember I went back and read on some things. Actually, Jason Garrett really wasn't Joe Judge's pick. It was because of his,
and that doesn't help
with the Giants. Right. It was Garrett's relationship with the ownership. He played there in the early 2000s as a backup, so he had a really good relationship with the Giants ownership rather. So Judge was like, I can cut this guy. No love lost. He said all the right things after he let him go, but we already know that Jason Garrett wasn't the guy he wanted as his OC anyway.
And when you have the guy in place that you didn't want in the first place, we're all human. We're all like, all right, so I ain't want you in the first place. So you better perform on a high level, or else, you know, your leash is short when you have that situation. So they, you know, and then when you're the guy that they didn't want to begin with, then everything is scrutinized on a different level, and that's just human. It's not about being biased, but that's just being human.
Right.
We didn't want you to begin with, but now you're tracking. Yeah.
It's easy to let you go. Out of Bounds Sports Podcast says Daniel Jones isn't very good. The offensive line is horrible. Totally agree. Daniel Jones never improved. He regressed. I think he was stagnant with Jason Garrett, and I think that was part of it as well. Antoine Banks says Jason's play calling been simple. Way before Dallas. I agree. And he hadn't been an offensive coordinator since 2012. So he hadn't called plays in almost 9 years. So it made it easy to let him go. So anyway, the Giants now have, I think Freddie Kitchens is now going to be taking over the play call.
Freddie Kitchens.
He's on the staff for the rest of the year. So
isn't that like the 300-pound quarterback from
No. Freddie Kitchens was with the Cleveland Browns. He was
no. I'm talking about when he was in college. Wasn't he like
was he? Oh, I had no idea.
300-pound quarterback that played for I want to say Alabama.
He could have.
I don't know. I can't remember. I just remember him being
he don't look like he got a body of a quarterback now. I mean,
he's even when he was playing for whoever he was, I want to say this guy played for Alabama, but he was oversized.
You're right. Now that I think about it, I think he did play for Alabama. I really did. Yeah. He played at Bama. Antoine. Yeah. So that's Kitchens is going to be. That hasn't been confirmed, but they're saying Kitchens is going to be taking over the play call in the rest of the season.
I mean, well, good luck, you know.
Yeah, good luck. So we're gonna roll through a couple of games. Recap: Packers went to Minnesota, lost 34-31 on a 20-yard field goal by Vikings Greg Joseph. Didn't realize Aaron Rodgers has got a toe issue, and they say it's worse than turf toe. But he played, and he put up. I mean, he threw for 4 touchdowns, 385 yards. Kirk Cousins actually didn't give a game away. He threw for 341 yards and 3 touchdowns. And LSU Justin Jefferson killed the secondary. He went for 8 receptions, 169 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So the Packers, everybody who picked the Vikings actually, you know, they showed me a little something. You know, they held on and they won that game, and that's Matt LaFleur first division loss since taking over as the Packers coach in 2019. So that NFC North division, I still think the Packers is going to win it, but you know the Vikings might make it interesting.
You know, the Packers and Vikings, their rivalry is always, you know, unparalleled in the NFL. You know, you talk about the Packers versus the Vikings and Dallas versus Washington Redskins. You know, probably one of the most herald rivalries in the NFL, and you know the fact that it's probably going to come down to that is really cool. I mean, you know, it brings back that nostalgia from the Brett Favre era, where I mean, I don't even see how now they do it, but back then for a player from the Packers to be traded to the Minnesota Vikings like that, it's like hell no, I'm not going like that. It wasn't about the money. I don't like them. You know what I'm saying? So it's just different. It is how this thing has turned about, and I think the NFL is definitely a different culture now than what we're accustomed to.
It definitely is different, a little different. So so that was one game on Sunday. Obviously, we got the Cowboys went to Kansas City. That was a game in the week. Cowboys offense was just stuck in mud. I mean,
they couldn't get anything going.
They just couldn't get anything going. They lost 19-9. They also lost CeeDee Lamb at the half with a concussion. He didn't play the second half.
That's absolutely not good.
Yeah, and he may not be ready for Thursday. That's the bad part about that. Tyron Smith right now, he didn't play. Don't know if he's going to be ready for Thursday. But I mean, this was a measuring stick. I think I'll be honest with you. I think the Cowboys defense showed me something. That Michael Parsons, you can say what you want. That Michael Parsons he's the real deal. He's the real deal. 3 sacks, 2 tackles for losses. The defense actually to hold Kansas City to 19 points and only 3 points in the second half. I think that showed me that they can play with anybody defensively.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you get off to a slow start, and then you're able to stop a team to non-double digit scores in the second half, I think that's something that you can build on leading into the playoffs, because, you know, a lot of folks don't understand that defense still wins championships, so at least they help out. So
Right.
to have a good showing in the second half defensive wise, I think that's something that the Dallas Cowboys can build on, even though, you know, you can have a loss, but there are always some tools, some tokens that you can reach back on to build on for the next week. And I think that's definitely something they can do.
And I think the thing is that, you know, at this point in the season, every NFL team is banged up. Antoine Banks says offensive line got dominated the whole game. Yeah, they did. Terrence Steele is a reliability. I think Dak is going to have problems until he get his left side protector back, Tyron Smith, because Terrence Steele isn't it. He's average, but I mean, he had his problems with Chris Jones. Chris Jones had 3.5 sacks and a forced fumble. So the Cowboys, they quick turnaround. You can't. That Sunday's done. You got to look toward the Raiders. They should win this game. But you know, it's Thanksgiving. They banged up a little bit. And see what they can do. Hopefully they have CD Lamb back. Hopefully Tyron Smith will be okay. He'll play Thursday too. So we'll see about that. So now we're gonna move on to NFL Thursday previews. We're gonna roll through this real quick. Obviously, everybody Turkey Day. You know, everybody like to watch the football, but I'm gonna tell you this first game ain't nobody gonna really want to watch. The Chicago Bears at the Detroit Lions. You gonna watch that game at 11:30, Kennard?
No, sir. On Thanksgiving?
Yes.
Even if I wasn't working, I still wouldn't watch it. It's been some years since the Chicago Bears and Detroit Lions game was even interesting. I mean, even some of the homers are probably like, "Nah, we gonna sleep on this to the regular games." Come on.
Right. So anyway, I'm not going to really talk about that much. The Lions are 0-9-1. They might get their first win. The Bears are hurting. Justin Fields, he had a rib injury, but I think he may play. He's doubtful. Questionable right now. So we'll see. Well, the second game obviously is always the Cowboys. They hosting the Raiders at 3:30 on CBS. Again, like we just said earlier, Tyron Smith is questionable right now. Ezekiel Elliott is questionable, and CD Lamb are questionable for Thursday's game. You know, both teams are coming off losses. The Raiders lost to the Bengals 32-13, and the Cowboys lost to the Chiefs 19-9. And the last game on Thanksgiving Day, 7:20 on NBC, the Buffalo Bills at the New Orleans Saints. The Bills are reeling right now. They got it handed to them by the Colts. I think that running back scored 5 touchdowns, Jonathan Taylor, I believe. And the Saints, they tread water too. So those are the Thursday NFL Thursday Thanksgiving game previews. All right, now we're gonna get to my man Kennard Stewart, who is the voice of Auburn Tigers in the SEC Conference. We talking SEC Conference recap. A couple of scores from this weekend. The Georgia Bulldogs beat Charleston Southern 56-7. Number 2 ranked Alabama was in a dogfight with Arkansas. They beat them 42-35. Ole Miss defeated Vanderbilt 31-17. Texas A&M hammered Prairie View A&M 52-3. And Mississippi State defeated Tennessee State 55-10. And the Auburn Tigers lost to South Carolina 21-17. Kennard, tell me about that game. Give me your synopsis, your whole. What's your thoughts on that game?
A couple of weeks ago, the SEC West was wide open. Texas A&M defeated Alabama, and it opened up a whole can of worms to where there were a lot of teams that would be in the running for a possible position if things worked out in their favor to win the SEC West. Auburn was actually one of those teams. However, Auburn squandered the opportunity by losing the game against Texas A&M, but still had a chance if they would have won over Mississippi State and Vanderbilt. Auburn is now on a 3-game slide with losing to South Carolina in a game that, from the outside looking in, was a very improbable game for Auburn to lose. However, if you look at what Auburn had internally going on, you lose your starting quarterback. You lose, your offensive line is kind of shaken up. You have your 5-star linebacker, Owen Pappoe, who is not playing in that game. So that changes the whole trajectory of the football game. Auburn jumps up to a 14-0 lead. But as it's been the trend for Auburn, they get up to big leads. But because of miscues, because of maybe even coaching decisions as far as play calling goes, they wind up letting the opposing team back in the football game, and they can't recover. And that's basically what happened there. It wasn't a horrible game. Auburn didn't really play necessarily bad, but when you have those aggravating circumstances like poor special teams play, turnovers, you abandon things at work, that's what leads you to situations where you lose to a team that you probably should beat.
Right. Now, you know, we've seen that happen. Well, I will say the Tank Bigsby, he's finally showed he can still run the football. 22 carries, 164 yards. Were you happy with the way the run game went?
That's the thing that we allude to. You know, a lot of the Auburn fan base and a lot of SEC, enthusiasts, they still are in this predication that you can run the ball, you can have this elite running back, but you can win games. In the SEC now, if you look at Alabama now, Alabama has a running back that has about 900 yards, but they also have a receiver that has caught the football for 1,200 yards.
Right.
So the SEC West, who has always been a power type conference, the teams that are winning are teams that can throw the football on an elite level.
Right. Yeah, and you know that's a good point because you're right. You got to be able to throw the football around. I mean, having a good run game is definitely helpful, but if you can't throw that ball,
but what good is having what good is having a good run game if when you get down in the red zone you can't score?
Yeah.
I mean, I think Tank Bigsby had an excellent game, but those were probably 164 of the most meaningless yards that he's ever had in his career.
so they was good on paper. They was empty, as you said. Those were empty yards, as they say. Empty yards. Oh wow, okay.
I mean, you push it down in the red zone, you can't score. I mean, yeah, it looks good.
What does it mean?
You're going to be you're going to be, because Alabama's going to give you 60 yards to where you be the first Auburn running back to have 1,000 yards since 2017. But if you can't score, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Teams that are winning in the SEC are winning because they have elite defense for sure. But on the other side, they're able to push the ball vertically down the field. And it's really that simple.
Yep. Hey, and that's Kennard, Vernon Speaks Sports. He knows what he's talking about, the SEC. He's an Auburn guy, and he watches them, and he knows everybody in SEC. Now, the CFP, they just came out with their new college football playoff rankings. It's Georgia, Ohio State, Bama, and Cincinnati at number 4. Notre Dame is number 5. What you think about this new ranking?
I'm going to tell you like this. I like the top 3. You said Cincinnati is what, number 4?
Yeah, they number 4 now. They was 5 between 5 and 6, but they number 4 now. So they are in as of right now. They will be in the college football playoff.
Now, you know, I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all on no level.
And you know, that's what they all say. Conspiracy theorists say that they are not first, but then they give us a conspiracy theory. But go ahead.
Yeah. But for this particular situation, I got my eyes on Cincinnati.
Okay.
I don't think Cincinnati is good enough to blow out the teams in their conference the way that they're doing. Now, I'm not, I really don't want to think that it's some point shaving going on, but I really have some questions about Cincinnati as far as the conference trying to position a situation to where, hey, when you beat a team, you need to beat them pretty bad. Hey, let's figure out a way to get a team out of the AAC conference in the playoffs. Here's the other thing. To refute that argument, because the reason why I said that, because a lot of people have been talking about that. I absolutely don't believe that. I think Cincinnati is a very good football team. It's the same football team that should have beaten Georgia in the Peach Bowl last year, and they deserve to be in their spot. They need to continue to win out. They need to continue to, be impressive in their wins. Of course, they need to win the AAC Conference Championship. That's a given. Right. But I actually want I want the AAC to have a representative in the college football playoffs. I mean, because I'm actually getting tired of the
same old
Oklahomas and the same old. Trying to figure out a way to sneak Alabama in, that kind of stuff.
Right. Antoine says got to give Cincy credit. You do. They playing who's on their schedule and they winning. And also Antoine says Big Ten is overrated. You know, I mean, I think you could say probably a lot of the conferences are overrated at this point. But
Yeah,
I
and
don't
it's
know if
and
the
it's
I
not
don't know
like
if the
the
Big
Power
Ten is
Five
over.
teams are trying to.
Yeah,
It's not like
yeah,
the Power Five teams are trying to invite them.
right, right. I don't know if the Big Ten is overrated. I think there's some teams in the Big Ten that may be overrated, but I can tell you what, Ohio State, them boys are ready. I would say that about the Big Ten, Ohio State. So look out for them because I think the way they beat Michigan State this past
Right.
weekend was dominant and was crazy. So anyway, that's our SEC conference recap. We're gonna move on to our next hot take, and we're talking about vaccination card gate with Antonio Brown, wide receiver Antonio Brown of the Tampa Bay Bucks. His former chef is allegedly accusing him of trying to get him to purchase fake vaccination cards for COVID-19 status. This is allegedly his former chef is allegedly said that he had communication between Antonio Brown's girlfriend and himself, saying, "How much can I get a fake vaccination card for?" According to the chef. Now, he told this story to the Tampa Bay Times. Now, these two fell out. Antonio Brown and his former chef fell out because of Antonio Brown owes him some money for unpaid services. Kadar, what you think about this story? And Antonio Brown is always in the middle of something.
Right. And when you told me there was some money owed, I already know that there was going to be some undercutting, some under the bus type stuff happening. My take on this is, you know, if you're in this position as a NFL wide receiver, you know, why would you put yourself in a situation where you have anything fraudulent or fake going on, especially vaccination cards? I mean, this is it seems like a horrible accusation. Maybe Antonio Brown did it. Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. But at the same time, I mean, if you owe somebody something, pay them.
Right.
And at the same time, like, we got to get out of this throwing folks under the bus just because, you know, maybe something didn't go your way, and hey, I'm a ruin this man's career and all this other. I just really hate raggedy situations like this.
I just thought allegedly this happened in July, and now why almost December you bringing this up?
Why is it coming up now?
Right, you coming up now. You know, my thing is, does he owe you some money? Okay, take him to court, to go to civil court about that. And then my other thing is, for if this happened, obviously you know how to get them, and you may have one. So to me, you kind of tell it on yourself too. If you know how to get them. So I mean, I don't know. I don't think this chef. I don't believe. I think he's just trying to tarnish his name, like you said. Right. And I'm not saying Antonio Brown don't owe him some money. But I'm just saying I think the better way to go through this is go through the legal system, serve him with a civil suit if you want to get your money, and sue him in the court of law, rather than running to a newspaper and telling this story. But maybe,
and see, that's the thing. That's the thing about you know, in entertainment and, you know, certain sectors of cultures, is that they don't go through the due process. If you really have a case against this guy, like you said, go to the courts, but don't go to TMZ, don't go to the mainstream media trying to throw this guy in the bus, because that means you're trying to accuse this person with the lack of you're not doing it in good faith. Right. Instead of trying to get the result, if he owes you money, go through the due process to get the money back. But if your goal is to tarnish his name, then that's just not acting in good faith.
It's not. So you know, it is what it is. So we're gonna keep our. The NFL is now investigating this, because obviously, if possessing or presenting a fake vaccination card, that's a felony.
Yeah, that's what I would think. I would think that's a federal offense.
That's a felony, and as well as the NFL, I mean, that goes against their personal conduct policy. So that they could, you know, they could do some things too. So we're gonna keep our eye on this story. We're gonna see what happens with this. Again, I think the chef is lying. I just think he's being vindictive, but I could be wrong. We'll see. We'll see. So anyway, that's our topics for the night. We down to our final thoughts. Kennard, tell me what you got. What's on your mind, brother?
All right, so the Cowboys definitely need to tighten up because they don't want to squander an otherwise good season. Definitely looking out for, you know, the Chicago Bears with, you know, some of the things that they have not been able to accomplish.
Right. Yeah.
Not been able to accomplish.
I don't care.
In
anyway.
the SEC, you got a big game between.
Go ahead, Kennard. You froze on me. SEC,
right.
big game.
And
there you go.
In the SEC, you have a big game between Auburn and Alabama, to where Alabama has a lot to lose. Alabama doesn't tend to play well in Auburn, so you got to look out for that one. And also Antonio Brown, you got to look out for your circle. You know what I'm saying? What's that?
No, I hear you. Keep going. You freezing a little bit, but go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. I got you. Go ahead.
Okay, good. But yeah, now we're like I said, Alabama and Auburn. That's always a big game. You got a lot of rivalries, rival games taking place this weekend, so you got to look out for those. And also with Antonio Brown, this is a lesson for, even just people in general, but especially if you're in the celebrity world, you got to really thoroughly analyze your circle. You got to thoroughly analyze who you do business with, and you also have to thoroughly analyze how you do how you transact business.
Right.
Because for one, if you got the money, go on ahead and pay the guy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of folks don't have much to lose. And then if they have you in a position to where they can tarnish your name and affect your well-being, they'll do it. So just pay if he's giving you some services, just pay him the way you don't even have to worry about this kind of stuff.
Yeah. So, all right, brother, that's our final thoughts. Well, and I want to get you a comment on this too real quick. My final thoughts is Sunday night, man, we had something go down in Detroit, Los Angeles Lakers and the Pistons, and King James, LeBron James, and Isaiah Stewart was about to take it to the streets. LeBron James came out and he said it wasn't intentional. He hit that man in the face with a closed fist. They were jockeying for rebound position now. Everybody thought it was an elbow. I looked at the video. It wasn't an elbow. It was his hand. It looked like a closed fist. This man had blood streaking down his face like he had just been in a boxing match. He was running around the court like he was going to do something, this and that, but King James was protected. But King James ended up getting suspended. I didn't think he would. Isaiah Stewart got 2 games. Actually, so I just want to say is a lot of people was like, oh, they was protecting King James. He wasn't going to get suspended. I said, well, that was a flagrant 2. I feel like he was going to get suspended. And he should have been suspended. That was flagrant. It's a flagrant 2. The rules are rules. I know you're the superstar. You're the face of the league, but you got suspended. But I also want to say about Isaiah Stewart too. If Isaiah Stewart really was a G, if he was really a goon, when he got up, he would have socked LJ right in his face. But nah, he ain't about that life. I don't care what y'all say. Isaiah Stewart wasn't about that life because LJ had his goons. They were gonna protect him. So my final thoughts is, hey, sometimes fights happen and you figure out who the goons are and who the fake wannabes. And I thought Isaiah Stewart was just woofing. So those my final thoughts. What you think about this fight?
Man, I was glad to, I shouldn't say this, but I was actually glad to see LeBron, kind of square up instead of flopping like he always does. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah, right.
I mean, it's just good to see that aggressive side to LeBron James. He's definitely, a lot of people don't know this. He's obviously at the tail. I mean, LeBron James could retire at this point. He has nothing left to prove, but he continues to show up and he continues to show that intensity. So I look forward to seeing what LeBron James is going to do in this season, which, I mean, I give him.
Okay, you froze on me, bro. I think you froze on me. I hate that. You give me what? Hey, Antoine, bro. Hey, we can't use that language, brother. But I get you. I understand where you're coming from. I don't think he is a female dog, but I get it. But anyway, my final thoughts is the Lakers are playing right now. They're playing the Knicks. Obviously, LeBron is not there, and this is their
right. Damn, LeBron gets suspended. That's kind of a crazy story, man.
So it is, but it's the NBA. It happens. So Lakers, they probably win tonight. And they're gonna say we did it for the LeBron, and that's all great, and it's all good. So anyway, that's been our show tonight. Guys, I want to say thank you for joining me. Kennard, thank you for joining me. Anyway,
Yes,
before
sir.
I get out of here, I want to wish everybody that's watching a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your family and your friends. Don't eat too much, and don't be there's a Thanksgiving etiquette. So there's certain things, don't go over people's house in their refrigerator and stuff. Don't be doing that. Don't be eating the last piece of sweet potato pie either. But I want everybody to enjoy your Thanksgiving. Kennard, you can find him, Vernon Speak Sports, on YouTube. You can find me here every Tuesday night at 6:30. I'm your sports guy, Kendrick. And until next Tuesday, and happy Thanksgiving, we out. Peace.
That money clip us now, the new now looks like. Whoa, upgrade her diamonds, now her girlfriends are like. Whoa, 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 whoa. I hit record, it drop, you can't ignore it. I'm transforming now these cars and planes.